my parents' names were Nicholas and Anna Herrmann, and my mother's maiden name was Shue. She was born January the 8th, 1889, and she died January the 29th, 1980. And my dad was born February 1st, 1888, and he died August 3rd, 1974. And there were 7 children in our family. Clarence was the oldest, born May 26, 1914, and he died June 12, 1989, and he had a heart attack. And Bernadette was born August 27, 1916, and she also had heart problems. And Lorraine was born April 28, 1918, and died March 29, 1922, and had mastoids, about 3 years old. And Rita, July 20, 1920, and she died January the 14th, the year 2000. Vern was born July 14th, 1922, and I was born September 4th, 1923, and Saluma was born February the 4th, 1927. And would you like to have a picture of my mother's family? She was,
yeah, we can get that on here.
She was, there were 13 children in her family. And that is my mother. And she was married at the time the picture was taken.
Who else is in that?
Well, there's a picture of her youngest brother. He was about 2 years old, and I suppose Odelia was about 4 years old at the time. Her brother John died during the flu season. But I have at least this is my grandpa and Grandma Herrmann, or Grandma Shue, when they celebrate their 50th anniversary wedding. And my grandpa and Grandma Herrmann, Grandpa was born in Trier, Germany, and Grandma was born in Luxembourg. Her maiden name was Charis. And I have a little clipping here about my Grandpa Shue. It says, when John Luke Shue was about 19 years old, he and Gerd Posch left Germany to escape serving in the German army. They went through Rotterdam, then through Holland and France to get to America. His father died when John was about 7 years old, and his mother, Mary Ann, died of dropsy just before John left for America. His sister entered a German convent, and she was called Sister Monica. Their order was driven out of Germany during World War I and settled in Holland. Another sister, Antoinette Christina, married Clemens Stryker. They settled around Springfield, Missouri, but the family were never close. John's older brother, Albert, and his wife, Catherine, and their family came to America in 1903, and they lived near Ashton, Iowa a few years, and then moved to Iona, Minnesota. John and Joanna Rickles Minen, that's my grandmother's parents, Grandma Shue, came by boat to America in 1873 and settled at Petersburg, Iowa. About 1882, they moved to Breda, Iowa vicinity, and they belonged to the Arcadia parish since Breda had only a mission church. Early records can be found at Petersburg, Arcadia, and Breda, Iowa. They were the parents of 12 children. Lizzie, well, I don't suppose I have to name all those children that they had, but my grandmother was one of them. Before their wedding, my grandfather, they were married February 14th, 1888 on Valentine's Day, and my grandfather worked as a hired hand, and my mother worked as a housemaid. After their marriage, they farmed 3 miles west of Breda until March 1893, when they homesteaded near Ashton, Iowa, buying land for $30 an acre. They retired in Ashton in 1925, and my grandfather died December the 8th, 1942, and my grandmother died March 3rd, 1959. Is that okay?
I think that's a wedding picture of your parents?
That's a wedding picture. Mm-hmm.
Your dad always have hair like that?
Yep, natural curly hair.
Okay.
My parents, my grandparents, Grandpa and Grandma Herrmann.
I got some glare on here. I should.
And this is my dad. Now see, his hair looks better there, doesn't it?
Oh, I think his hair looked okay, Ma. So that's your dad.
That's my dad. And that's Katie and Nettie and Johnny and Tilly and Billy.
Not sure who she is.
I think this is Annie, and that's Julie, and that's Henry. Who do you think that would be?
So the parents are who?
John and Elizabeth Herrmann.
You don't know what her maiden name was.
Shares.
How do you spell that?
Schares, I think.
How old do you think your dad was here?
I suppose I don't know.
Good looking guy.
He was a good looking fellow. Good personality. My mother's family.
Yeah, we got a lot of glare on that. But that's all right. Oh, no, that's good.
And there's my mother. There were 13 children, and she was married at that time, and she had that little brother, so she lived in South Dakota, and he in Iowa, so she really never. She never.
You
really
know names
knew
of everybody in that picture?
Yeah. There's Louise and Art and Grandma and Grandpa and Delia and Elvin and Pauline and Helen and Clara and Mary and John and Ida and Anna and Francis and Joe.
Who's the father? What's the father's name?
John.
John Shue?
John and Caroline Shue.
What was Caroline's maiden name?
Minen.
That's Caroline there?
Right here.
Was he older than her?
Oh, yes. She was, they said she was very young, and she was working on a farm, and he went over to that farm, and he saw her with a bucket of water on this side and a yoke across here. And there she was walking with that water, and he said to her, "You shouldn't be doing this kind of work. Will you marry me?" And she said, "Okay."